Welcome, everybody, to Why Are You an Entrepreneur? The Trials and Triumphs. I'm Maureen Edwards with 8 Simple Steps. And you know, this is our weekly show on Thursdays where I bring you rock star entrepreneurs who are making it happen out in the business world, whether they're just starting, they're building, and they've been in business for decades and scaling. There are words of wisdom that come out of here every single week to help you in your journey as an entrepreneur. And tonight, again, it's no exception, right? I have Milton Grant, and he is an executive vice president with the Ravens Group. Now, I have to say, this is not the Ravens team because I thought, maybe I'm going to get some football information here. But Milton, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm super happy to be here.
So, our paths crossed from a mutual friend of ours, Misha, and she just raved about you. She raved about you as a person, as a business person, as retired military. And I thought, you know what, we had to connect. And I asked the same question starting out. Why are you an entrepreneur? Why are you in that business owner arena like you are right now?
Well, thank you for the question. It's a really good question. And so we draw from everyone, and this is kind of an expanded answer to a simple question, which should have just been a this, but it's not a this. You know, life is a journey. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't pay attention to the signs on the side of the road on your trip, you'll never know what you missed. Muhammad Ali once said that, you know, service to others is the rent we pay for our life on earth. My father-in-law and I have always, who is the CEO and founder of the company, we always talked about being able to give people jobs so that they could take care of their families. You know, we're both retired Army. The Army had taught us so much about taking care of soldiers. And the way we look at people in general is that everybody's a soldier because everybody in life has a mission. So everybody's a soldier. You're just a soldier for a different army. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. But you have a mission in that army. And so what we wanted to be able to do was find people who were on that mission and give them the opportunity to expand on it by, you know, doing what we think is necessary, and in this case, is government contracting. So our company does government contracts primarily in the DoD space, and that's kind of it. We wanted to take care of others and make sure that everybody who deserved a job could get a job.
You know, I have to say, Milton, with as many interviews as I've been doing on this show and the conversations I've had, I've heard, you know, I started a side hustle because I wanted some more money. I've left, you know, because I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to control my own destiny. I lost my job and had to figure out something to do. But never have I heard that we are entrepreneurs, we are business people, and we are running a company to give back and provide jobs to people. And I'm gathering that a lot of them are retired military as well, or, you know, veterans.
Some. I mean, we do have, as a veteran-owned small business, we do have a requirement to employ a certain amount of veterans. But that's it. We try to meet that number, and then the floodgates are open for everybody else. One point to something that you just said about never having heard that answer, and people normally telling you, you know, side hustle, make money. I do professional development and professional leadership training. And one of the things that I tell people when we do small business classes, if you started a business with the sole or even number one intent to make money, then you're going to fail.
Yep.
You're going, if it's not part of a passion from a place that's real, for a real reason, for a real result, if the only result is I want to make money, you really have to believe in what you're doing, believe in why you're doing it, and just have a passion for it. So I don't subscribe to starting a project just to get a monetary return. I mean, that's okay. Don't get me wrong. I'm not oblivious to the fact that money is the engine that drives the train.
Right. If you don't bring in money, you're not going to be able to fulfill the mission that
Exactly.
is right in front of you.
Yeah. But
And
rarely is the most productive car on the train the engine. Very rarely is that the most productive car.
so, would you say that a lot of people kind of miss this step of, owning your own company? One of the best things you can do is really give back to
Yes.
that community and
Absolutely.
create jobs, right?
I completely agree.
So, for all my small business owners out there, let's take a step back and think about your why.
Yes.
And it is all about serving customers and having people who are loyal and trustworthy to serve them, right?
Yes.
That's how you build all of this. So,
Yeah.
so leaving the military and then going into business, tell me what some of the challenges were in that. Or so let's start with challenges, because I think maybe there could be some similarities in some ways, but tell me what some of the challenges were.
Well, one of the very first challenges, and I would say this is for every retired military person, is rebranding yourself, rediscovering who you are, rebranding that person, and then finding out a way to package and deliver the new person. Because one of the things that I talk about a lot is, do you know who you are? I was Command Sergeant Major Grant, and I was Command Sergeant Major Grant for so long that that's all I knew. I hadn't completely forgot Milton Grant, but I had forgotten the things that Milton Grant liked. I had forgotten how to present Milton Grant outside the house and leave Command Sergeant Major Grant in the house. Nobody wanted to see that guy. They wanted to be interviewed or talked to by Milton Grant because they weren't in the Army and I
Right.
wasn't in charge of them.
Yeah.
So they didn't care about all of those things. And so that was the first challenge. And then the second challenge was actually taking the passion for what we were trying to do and making ourselves aware and abreast of all of those requirements and packaging them in a way to deliver them to a potential client or the direct client who was reaching out to us. So those were challenges. You get so used to being in charge, if you were in a position where you were in charge in that uniform, that you realize, and for some people it's really difficult. I've
Yeah.
talked to a lot of people who cannot seem to understand, they blame the other person and not even realizing that you haven't let go. You're the problem.
Right.
You're not in uniform anymore.
Right.
You're Mr. or Mrs. So,
And so even as a new business owner, it's a completely different role, and
completely
you've got
different.
to market yourself completely different. Your business is front and center now.
Yes.
Um,
And you
so
know what, Maureen, real quick, on the business end of that statement that you just made, military, results oriented, commercial world, profit oriented. So military doesn't care how much money they have to spend. They just want to get it right.
right.
It doesn't
Right.
matter what people think about the method or the path to right. They just want to end up at right. On the civilian, on the commercial side, they do care about all of that because it's profit oriented. They don't get a national budget given to them to operate.
Right.
They have to make money, like you and I right now.
So that's a completely different mindset when you come out of that. So if you're going to become a business owner, you're going to venture into entrepreneurship, you're going to have to switch your gear, a 180. And I can imagine that being very much of a challenge.
Yes.
So how do you think the military prepared you for working in the family business, working outside of the military and corporate? What were some of the skills you picked up that you utilize every day to make you successful with this?
Presentations, briefings. The one thing I said a second ago, being results oriented.
Yeah.
That's both a bad thing and a good thing. It's only good in uniform, bad out of uniform, because if you're only results oriented out of uniform, you're forgetting that everything that's results oriented costs money. so
Yeah.
so you have to make sure that that you're packaging a strategy that matches the input so that the output doesn't get under or overblown. But just dealing with people, one of the most beautiful things about the military, regardless of what branch of service, we're all from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I was a drill sergeant, I would talk, I would have my soldiers, 250-man company, and I would stand them up and just and categorize them, and I would categorize them or compartmentalize them by all of my East Coast, West Coast, North, South, and then my island, um, everywhere from Puerto Rico to Haiti, to just to show them you're not all from the same neighborhood. We're going to be a team. And at the end of the day, I want you to look at where we are right now. And then, for example, basic training at Fort Benning, and 13 weeks later, I want you to remember this day and then look at where you are right before we get ready to graduate. And so that's one of the things that I think the military has an advantage of over pretty much everybody else, in that you really have to learn how to communicate across cultures.
Yeah.
You can't just speak your language. You can't just accept your understanding. It's a really big deal, because at the end of the day, in that uniform, we are the only thing that we have the same is the mission.
Yeah.
And if we can't get on the same page for the mission, then we fail.
So you told me you were in a family business.
Yes.
Before we actually went live, we had just a mini conversation. And so tell me, what is different about being in a family business? If somebody was leaving corporate, they're leaving the military, and then they go, all right, we're going to jump into something that's been created by somebody else, but
Yes.
now we're going to be a small business owner with it, or a big business owner. What? Why did you do this? And maybe not go in on your own, right?
Yes. Well, one is my wife.
Okay, there's a good one. That's a good reason.
Her father, just a great thing to do. Like minds, both love soldiers, both love being soldiers, both did it at a high level, and both had a vision for how we could help people, and in the meantime, help each other. So this was a way to say, you know what, let's identify a lane, because we knew what it was like when we were getting ready to get out. It's a nightmare. It really is a nightmare, because the more rank you have, or the more status you have in uniform, the harder it is to transition.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden you go from being the guy to being a guy.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, really have a challenge. And what I tell people all the time when I interview them is, if they were prior military, I said, okay, that, for some contracts, if you've never been in the military, you really have to dig down into the nuts and bolts and explain a type of contract, everything that it does. But if it's an operations contract and I'm interviewing a retired military, or even a person that did, 5-10 years in the military, I just tell them, okay, this is like working for a brigade commander. They get it. And so,
yeah.
It's so that kind of works out, and it worked out for us. And thank God it's continuing to work out for us. But it's just something special, Maureen. That's just an amazing question, because I could literally just waste the rest of your day expanding on that.
Yeah.
I won't, but I'm just saying that it's really good. Those are the beautiful takeaways.
Yeah.
The two things in any presentation are the things I want you to know and the things I want you to take away. That's just a beautiful takeaway.
One thing that really has struck me, that if somebody is joining like this, you talked about having the same vision. You were both aligned in, the big picture and the goal of what you wanted. And I think people have to be on the same page. You just can't go, oh, I'm going to go work for them and I'm on my own agenda. I'm,
Mhm.
it doesn't really work that way. You've got to both have the same
Yes.
mission and the same vision to be able to work together. And that's with any partnership. It isn't just a family business, right? If you're
Yes.
going to form a partnership business, you both have to be on the same page. And it sounds like you have a lot of respect for each other and what each brings, and also that common ground with that military background. So there are a lot of things that you just said to, for people out there, kind of listen to kind of the check off these boxes and maybe even ask these questions of the person, the family member. Dive deeper into it and not just assume that it's all going to go okay because they are family. That could be even worse.
Yeah.
Right?
I couldn't agree with you more. I just did a mentor presentation, a live streaming mentor presentation for engineers. And to your point, one of the things that I pleaded with them, 2 words: pay attention. And they were like, pay attention about what? I'm like, just pay attention.
Yeah.
Not just to me. You're learning as you go through this thing called life. And you're being mentored by people that have nothing to do with you if you pay attention. I'm being mentored by you right now. So I'm trying really hard to make sure that I pay attention so that when I walk away from Maureen, that this is only the first of our many escapades. And there's something that I can take away from everything that I absorbed from Maureen. And I don't want that to end. I mean, I don't think we'd be doing this if you should never engage in something that you never want to do again. Because if that's the case, then why did you engage in it? If you walked in knowing that I don't want to do this again, then just don't do it ever.
Right.
Just don't do
Well,
it.
and sometimes, though, I think entrepreneurs figure that out much later than they should. They realize when they go into owning a business that maybe it was not all that they expected,
But
and that
that's okay.
they aren't the entrepreneurial type, and they need to admit it early and accept it and just say, you know what, I'm not going to do this again. But I see people come back, Milton,
Mhm.
after doing it the first time, they go back into corporate and then they come back and be an entrepreneur again. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
you didn't like it the first time.
Well, the only I don't like the term pushback. The only difference I will have with that is failure. So you didn't appreciate the challenge. And so doesn't mean you didn't like it. You just didn't appreciate the challenge enough. So now maybe that you've had a chance to reflect and take a panoramic view of everything that was whatever that was. Now you want to try it again. And this time, if you fail, you know that at least I went in more aware this time. I knew what to look for. I knew what the pitfalls were. I knew some of the mistakes that I made. I know what the challenges are on the escalator. And if I fail this time, there are no excuses. At least I knew more. You'll never know all, but at least I knew more than I did when I first went in. The first time just may have been overzealous. And I
Yeah.
didn't really educate myself. I didn't really know anything. I just thought this is a great idea. Everybody's making money doing this. I'm going to go try to make money doing this too. But I don't know anything about it. Okay. So failure is okay. Failure, as I've told 1,000 soldiers, if I've told one, I love failure because failure means I have another opportunity to succeed at something else. So I'm
Well,
okay with failing.
a failure leads you to something else, but it's a learning experience.
It
And
is.
I totally love the point that you've made. If it hasn't worked out the first time, maybe go and take a position that teaches you more for the second time and prepares you the second time around. So, yeah, I really do like the fact that you pushed back. And that's okay. That's what we're here all about. So tell me a little bit about how many people you have working for you that you have provided amazing jobs for.
How many we've provided jobs for? How many are working right now?
Right?
Or
Well,
both?
both over the years.
Oh my God. Over the years, probably, I would say without exaggerating, probably about 6,000.
No.
And well, I mean, we started doing this back in 2003. So
Wow.
been a couple days. And we've had some
Wow.
decent contracts that, and when I say decent, I mean over 300 people at one time in total contracts, not one contract, but in total amount of contracts. We had over 300 people at one time. Right now, we've probably, without looking at the HR paperwork, probably 100 and maybe 20 people.
Wow.
So
Wow. Kudos to you. I love hearing this. I love the fact that it's been 2 decades. Um, all right. So then my big question is going to be for you, for a business that can be 2 decades, right? And
mhm,
still going strong. And you've had 6,000 people who have crossed paths that you've been able to, have them achieve an income.
mhm.
There are people doing what you're doing too. So what would you say is your secret sauce that is giving you a competitive edge out there?
So when you get your chance to go in the room, it's all in how you tell the story. Everybody is doing the exact same thing. There's no magic answer. Some people want life to sound hard because the harder they can make it sound, the smarter it makes them look. Let me tell you something, and I'll tell everybody in the world this. Life is hard, but it's not complicated.
Oh,
You-
people make it more complicated than it is. I say business is not complicated.
it is not
Business is
complicated.
simple. People make it hard.
Yep. The hard thing in life, I want some money. Well, the non-complicated answer, well, you need a job.
Right.
So I mean, so it's hard. Yeah, you can't just, the hard part is you want a job. Here's what's hard. I can't just give myself a job. So that's the hard part. What's not complicated is figure out how to develop a skill set in a place that you can get a job. Even if it's self-employed, figure out and nurture a skill set that people need that skill set and you can deliver. So once you get in the room, it's all in how you tell the story. If you and I were going into an interview for an operations manager, and we've both got the same background, and this happens a lot. We've both got the exact same background, and we get in the room, same education, everything, and you walk out with the job, you sold it better than I did. That's the bottom line. It's all in how you tell this. And part of telling the story is how you look. As much as people don't like to hear that, I mean, at some point, if I want to bring you in on the team and I want you to be a representative of whatever it is we're doing here, not just of the company, but the thing that we're doing, your face is going to be attached to that too. Then we need to look and act and talk the part. And I know that's not popular, but that's just the truth.
Well, actually, what you're saying is branding. It is the company brand, and that includes the company image. And the fact that you're all on the same page is branding consistency.
Yes.
And it has actually been proven that a company that consistently shows up and represents their brand with the same message to the same people,
Mhm.
they earn 34% more money.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a substantial amount. I don't think people realize how important it is. And so everybody's got to be on the same page, which is why McDonald's and Kentucky Fried, they all wear uniforms, right? Nobody deviates.
That's right. That's right.
So in your own business, you can ask people who are joining your team
Mm-hmm.
to follow your brand book.
Yes.
So
And we
congratulations.
demand it. It's not even an ask. If you're going to be a part of this team,
Yeah.
these are the rules.
Yeah.
Because this is who we are.
Yeah.
This is how we sell ourselves. When we sell ourselves to Miss Maureen, we tell her what she can expect. And every day after I walk away from you, that's what you're going to expect to see, because that's what I told you
Right.
you were going to see.
Right.
So I have to be true to my word. And the only way I can do that is everybody, self-included, has to push all of their chips to the middle of the table and be all in.
I love it. I love it. So what would you say if somebody was just starting their own business? What words of wisdom would you give them? They're raw, they're pure. Let's talk about one of your veterans. They come out, They are making that transition, and now they are starting their own company. If there was like one thing you would tell them, besides the branding aspect and the mindset, and they've got to change all of that, but looking at business, what would you tell them to do?
Learn your competitors.
Mm.
Learn your competitors. Because like I just said a few minutes ago, you're not the only one doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So when you get that opportunity, part of it being all in how you tell the story is because you know what your competitors are doing. So that's part of your narrative.
Yeah.
You know, your competitors, they better be part of your narrative, because what you don't want to do is have to answer a question about your narrative, about your competitors rather. And that was never part of your narrative. So no, your competitors should always be a part of your narrative. So learn your competitors.
And you probably need to know them better than they know themselves.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I always
Absolutely.
say in my branding program, one of the parts is the third week is all about competitive differentiation. And how do you differentiate yourself from them? And unless you know who they are and you've
Yes.
researched them and you see their brand and their messaging and their, like you
Yes.
said, their narrative, their story,
Yes.
that's kind of a guide, right? To be
Exactly.
different.
Exactly. I mean, as your potential client, as you're talking to me, I'm doing a cost benefit analysis on you and everybody else that does what I'm talking to you about. So you should know that, because you should expect me to ask you a question about that. You should expect me to ask you a question about price, about deviation, about lead times, about retention. You should know everything about me, but from a competitor standpoint.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. That is excellent advice. So my last question for you is there a favorite quote you have that really sticks with you and you kind of follow a lot of the times?
well, I'm a poet.
Oh,
And
okay. So I asked like a really good question here that's in your lane.
you did. And you did.
I didn't know that. I swear. I had no idea. All
Well,
right, so we're going to get a good one here.
one of my favorite poems. It's not my favorite, but it's one of my favorite poems. And that is The Charge of the Light Brigade. And the line, I use it. I don't think there's a week that's gone by since high school that I haven't used this same line out of that poem. And that is, I was not to reason why, I was but to do or die. And that's how I feel about my family. That's how I feel about my work. That's how I feel about the Army. Few people could say that they love the Army more than I do. If they call me back tonight, I'd go tomorrow. Now I'd go a little mad, but I would go.
You sound just like my husband, Milton. You and him would be able
He's a
to
good man.
have amazing conversations, because if there was anybody born and bred to do it, it's him. So
It's a special thing.
it is.
The Army just, the military as a whole, but I'm way more biased in favor of the Army. The Army is just that special group of people that it's just something about being on the ground
Oh
and
yeah.
seeing everything up
Yep.
close and personal,
The
face to
front
face.
line.
Yes.
Yep. It's the front line. Yep.
And,
I always say it's like doing market research, right? The best market research is being right out there in front of
yeah,
everybody in your environment,
yeah. It's the
taking it
form.
all in.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
the forms of intelligence.
Yeah.
Human intelligence is it.
Yeah.
Human intelligence.
Well, I hope that you will join us again, Milton. I've absolutely had the most amazing conversation with you tonight, and just a real true pleasure getting to know you. So I'm so glad that you said yes tonight, and I hope that you will come back and give us updates on how things are going. And I just think you have a lot of wisdom that we could talk about and you can share that we couldn't get all in 30 minutes. So for people who do want to work with you or want to connect with you, how can they reach you?
Well, they can look us up on the ravensgroup.com. We have an information page, an information link rather, and they can just drop it in there and it'll come to me.
Awesome.
So our
Awesome.
marketing and corporate communications director, she'll grab it and she'll make sure that I get it if somebody was looking for me. And another thing I'd be remiss, Maureen, if I didn't say you are such a great American. I had made a comment about Misha a couple years ago when I first met her, and that was that I liked talking to Misha because her voice kind of served as a consort.
Mm-hmm.
You exude energy, and so that motivates me to want to hear more and to want to talk more. So I look forward to talking to you in the future.
Absolutely. I hope we can continue the conversation.
Absolutely.
So thank you again. And thank you to my audience for tuning in. I know that you got some amazing best practices and some true nuggets tonight. So I hope for those of you watching the replay, you will really take some notes. And for all of you out there, if you're watching this and you are a small business, regardless, a small business owner, regardless of what stage you are in your journey, please reach out to me. I would love to have you share your story because you do have a story to tell. And I have an audience who needs to hear what you have to say. And you could help a lot of people by saying it. So please reach out to me. I'm across all of the social media platforms. You can DM me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, you can always reach me at 8simplesteps.net. So let's connect. So Milton, have a wonderful night, and everybody else, good night, and we will see you next week with another rock star. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Have a good one.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.